Welcome to Barron's Roundtable, where we get behind the headlines and prepare you for the week ahead. I'm Jack Otter. Coming up, prediction markets are exploding in popularity, and Wall Street is paying attention. What it means for investors and the market. But we begin with our expert panel and 3 things investors ought to be thinking about right now. On the Barron's Roundtable, my colleagues Ben Levisohn, Teresa Rivas, and Josh Schafer. So Ben, last week we talked about the great rotation finally happening, and this week it's all over. Tech stocks again.
Yeah, it was. I mean, tech stocks were the thing, but it was really not much of a thing this week. It was a market that I likened to maybe the Three Stooges, where you stand up, you hit your head, you fall down, you bounce back up, you hit your head again, you fall down. This week it was AI that knocked the market down. A nice inflation reading sent it back up.
So it's the Three Stooges market instead of a Santa rally. So there's some bad news and good news in the numbers. The CPI made it look like inflation was great. We heard, well, maybe that's a technical problem and it's not as good as it looks. On the other hand, unemployment creeped up to 4.6%, and we were told, actually, that's overstating it. Unemployment's probably lower than that.
That's right. I mean, this all comes down to the government shutdown. It has messed up all this data. We didn't get it really accurate. The one thing that people should watch, at least according to Ed Yardeni, is watch the jobless claims. They did dip a little bit this week. They've been very stable. They're the one piece of data that we have right now that actually looks like we can trust it.
And that's good news, right?
It is good
when jobless claims dip, we're happy. All righty, where do we go from here, Ben?
Nowhere. I mean, I think this is going to be the story of the market for the rest of the year, that it's just you're going to have some good news days, you're going to have bad news days, and we're going to probably end right around flat for the month of December.
All right. In maybe good news, Teresa, the IPO market had a pretty good showing this past week, the biggest IPO of the year. What did you see?
Absolutely. So my 4- and 6-year-olds tell me that they're not my babies anymore. They're big boys, but I still remember when they were newborns, swaddled in that blanket. And the company that makes those blankets, Medline, went public on Wednesday, and it was the biggest IPO not only of the year, but since 2021 when Rivian went public. The stock went up 40%. It raised over $6 billion. So definitely a sign that maybe things are turning around.
Of course, the offering that everybody's really looking toward is SpaceX. We don't know when that's going to happen, but the success here made investors start to think about $1.5 trillion possibly.
Absolutely. So, per usual, there aren't a lot of details. Things could change. We don't have a timeline, but investment banks are already lining up to advise the deal. And if it does, when it does happen, it will be, of course, the IPO of the year.
It's interesting, Teresa, because there's different ways to go public, right? And our colleague Andrew Barry pointed out that maybe they would actually just merge with EchoStar. So EchoStar actually already owns SpaceX shares. Maybe there's some sort of public market play that is involved there, and it's not a traditional IPO.
For sure. But I mean, right now, if you want to invest in SpaceX, that's the only way to do it, through EchoStar.
If that does happen that way, there are going to be a lot of Morgan Stanley bankers crying in their coffee. Andrew thinks it could have been a $500 million fees attached to this. That's a lot of houses in the Hamptons that will not get bought if it goes public through. Meanwhile, Josh, dude, big week for pot.
Yeah, it was, but not for the stocks, actually, Jack, right? So we had a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news event in terms of marijuana stocks. So marijuana stocks popped a week ago on news that President Trump might sign an executive order. He did sign that executive order on Thursday. The key part of the signing of that order is it moves marijuana from a Schedule I drug, think heroin, LSD, to a Schedule III drug, which is more in line with sort of prescription painkillers. So it wasn't quite what investors had maybe hoped for, because it's not really a recreational play when it comes to marijuana. So you did see the stocks dip a little bit.
But there is some real good news coming out of this. They actually get to deduct business expenses from their taxes now, and that might sound like it's not a big deal, but it actually is going to give them a big boost to cash flows and margins. Up to maybe $150 million will come out of that.
Yeah, and banking is a big issue here with some of these companies. They're not able to borrow in normal ways. So if we're moving toward that situation, it'll be better. So given the sort of buy the news, sell the rumor thing going on, Josh, do you sit out this in terms of the stocks or any investment opportunities here?
I think probably, Jack. When you look at a chart where the ETF, the ticker symbol is WEED, weed, right? It was up 120% over the last 6 months. Then you see a massive drop back. Those charts start to make me look nervous, right? And if you look at some of the large companies that are within that, like a Tilray, that company also up almost 200% over the last 6 months, then has pulled back over this week. I think you probably sort of have to wait and see how this actually plays out. And remember, these businesses, a lot of those stocks are off 70, 80, 90% from their 2021 highs.
Wow, yeah, a lot more hype here than reality. But one quick question. When you're talking about these stocks, what are they doing? Are these farmers? Are these distributors? What are they?
Yeah, so several of the companies, a lot of them actually farm and then distribute them themselves, right?
Okay.
So they're farming, they're growing the product, and then they're also the distributor.
Got it. Alrighty. Thanks, guys. After a volatile 2025, markets came out ahead. What long-term investment trends could shape